Hey, thanks so much for watching. Today's class is offered as a partnership between the Ann Arbor District Library and the Ann Arbor Art Center. So this is drawing for adults, and today we will be learning how to draw a hand. So grab a pencil and a sheet of paper, and also if you happen to have a pen, that might be helpful as well. I'm going to walk you through several different versions of drawing a hand and just really practicing and seeing the way I approach it a few different times. So the first thing we're going to do is draw a square on your sheet of paper. Now, if you are open to drawing on your hand, it's actually really great to not only look at your hand while we're doing this, but also to go ahead and draw these lines on your hand so that you can see exactly what it would look like on your actual hand in addition to the paper, and it will make it so it's a lot easier to compare the steps that we take. Okay, so let me start back over here. So again, we're starting with this square, and then we're gonna put these two triangles on top and one off to the side. Now the one on the side is gonna be where our thumb is, so make sure you put it, at least for now, on the left side here. Okay, now this helps us figure out where we can put those lines, and those straight lines stand for where the fingers will go, okay? And so we do that triangle because if you look at your hand, you'll see that it doesn't really go, they don't all go straight into a straight line. They're actually very much curved. They're kind of on a little bit of an arc there. So that triangle really helps us situate them in the proper location. So again, be looking at your hand as you go about drawing this. Pause this video so that you can really follow along with me. Another thing that I'm doing as I'm drawing this, I'm drawing on my hand in between the joints, and so I'm looking at the back of my hand here, or I never understood really if it's the back or the front of the hand, but the palm, I guess, of my hand is what side I'm drawing, and so I am drawing on those little creases there, and that is really helpful. Okay, so watch again here so you can see this is the palm of my hand, and I am drawing the thumb and as well as the fingers. And so this is helpful because we can look at this same shapes, this square, whatever, it just depends on, you know, how your hand is angled, but that those shapes will always be there. They might just be a little bit foreshortened, okay? So if I'm doing a peace sign, like you can see here, my little doodle in the corner, those lines are still there. It's not like all of a sudden you lose fingers. It's just that they're tilted in a different direction. And so here's another different example of the side of the hand. So we see that square once again, it's there, it didn't leave us. We just don't see it in the same way when we see just a flat front facing hand. Okay, so I just like to point that out. Here in this angle, we can also just really look at the basic shape. We can see that the finger almost looks like, or the fingers almost look like the shape of a triangle. And so this is just a hand holding something. Here I am just doodling something for fun, little gnome. But looking at the shapes that we're seeing is similar to when we're looking before at the square, the other little triangles, along with just thinking about the fingers as a straight line, kind of representing, I guess, sort of the almost like the bone there of the hand, like the center part. And so we can do that so that we're able to figure out kind of placement, get all of that sorted out best before drawing in the full fingers. So if we do need to erase something, it's much easier to erase and redraw a single line rather than drawing out all of our fingers, right? So, you know, looking at the size of each finger in relationship to the fingers that are around it is also another way of helping. Again, we do that with the line first before drawing in the whole fingers. So again, here with these little lines, these are the same lines that I've drawn on my hand, and I don't have a photo to prove it to you, but I did in fact draw on my hand, and it's really helpful to be able to see that because you can look at how close it is to the palm, where does it fall in comparison then to the lines on the other hands, and so forth. And of course, looking at the space, that negative space between each finger is also going to be just as important, because we can look at that gap. Now, everybody has different hands. Some people might have thinner hands than others, and so that gap might vary person to person. And of course, just how separated are your fingers? Are they really spread far apart, or are they closer together? So that's going to vary just depending on how you're simply putting your hand up, okay? So as you're doing that and you start building the flesh, the skin around our funny little shapes and lines here, you'll start to notice different places where maybe your hand is a little bit more full, whereas in other places it may be a more narrow kind of angle or line that you want to draw based around there are square, triangle, and lines. Okay, now you can see here I've already started shading this in, so if you want to take it to the next step, feel free to go ahead and practice doing some shading. As I always recommend when doing shading, it's important to really have a good light source so that you're going to have an interesting light and shadow combination. Otherwise, it's going to just be kind of a bunch of midtones. You might have some lighter areas and you might have some darker areas, but having that nice dramatic lighting, meaning go sit by the lamp on your side table or something, so that you have a little bit more of a stronger contrast to look at. I didn't really have too much of a strong contrast here, and so you'll kind of see that. So also, while we're pointing out flaws in my drawing here, I definitely have that palm pretty long, so that part is a little bit inaccurate. So I do apologize for that, but hopefully you're able to look at the one that's right next to it and see that it's much better. So anyway, so just add in the values that you see when you see darker parts or darker places on your hand. Go ahead, you can emphasize the darks even if you want and make it even darker than it really is. You can see here I'm kind of being a little extra dramatic with the contrast because I didn't really have that much contrast in my what I see in my hand, because I wasn't really sitting at a great light source here. But I recommend going over and taking a few extra steps to get to a better light source, or you know, sit by candlelight if you want to do something kind of fun and unique. It's just whatever you want to do, it's fun. So anyway, I am going to quickly kind of repeat the process here, showing you real quick about how this looks when we see it all together. Again, really consider after you do this to draw the hand at different angles. So here, this is where I am holding out the hand again, but at a different angle, where I'm really seeing more what it would look like if it was the wrist was really facing me and my fingers were going away. Okay, so you can look back at that if you want, but here I am going through these steps one more time, so hopefully this is helpful for you to watch again. And again, I highly recommend pausing this at any point whenever you need to take a second to rewatch something. I'm just gonna go ahead and overlay the shaded part that I did earlier right on top of this one. Of course, I gotta adjust a few things because each drawing that I did is a little different here. Beginning to think that I might just have a long palm, but not certain there. So anyway, I'm just adding my rings here. If you've got jewelry on, if you're wearing a bracelet, maybe you have a little tattoo on your wrist or on your hand, that could be fun to also draw or pretend like you do, whatever. But again, after you do just this regular kind of hand drawing, I'd recommend trying it from a different angle, seeing how the different shapes, the different basic shapes that we discussed, how they change depending on the perspective and the angle that you're seeing your hand being drawn. I hope you enjoyed today's video and that you found it helpful.